he explains his character in this. I don't know if how recently you've watched the first one, but in the first Blade, he had a really hard time with the character. He was more uptight. And then he said in this one, he's looser. You know, that scene where that motorcycle henchman scene. Motorcycle henchmen are never successful. I hate motorcycle henchmen. Never. But when he parks next to his car and almost hits it and like blows it a kiss, and then he smiles at Ron Perlman when he has the gun on him. So what he said was at the end of Blade, when he drinks that blood from, you know, he uses that blood to kind of make himself healthy again so he can fight Deacon Frost, who they also make fun of. They're like, we had a more formidable villain this one, not just Deacon Frost. Stephen Dorff. Well, I love Stephen Dorff in that movie, but he said he was more comfortable.
I thought he didn't do a bad job.
I mean, I love yuppie vampires. I love the idea of young yuppie vampires. Like that's just it makes me happy.
But it makes sense. It makes sense though. It feels like, because if you look at like Interview with the Vampire, for example, all those vampires were like aristocracy. You know, with the exception of who was
Pitt?
Was it what's his face? Antonio Banderas?
Oh yeah.
I think all of those vampires were like from upper class living, so it only makes sense to bring that to modern times with like super yuppie vampire kids. You know what I mean?
Super high tech. You know, they were using that computer technology in '98. And you know what's also really interesting? David Goyer and Wesley Snipes on the commentary were talking about how in the first Blade, that party seems ultra exclusive. There's probably 100 people there, would you say?
Yeah.
So it's like the yuppie of the yuppie vampire going to this blood rave. But then they said,
1%.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And then they said this one in Blade 2 is more of all the vampires come to it. It's not exclusive.
Yeah.
And Wesley Snipes is like, man, like it should have been more exclusive. Then the producer's like, we can't afford to dress 1,000 Bulgarians in Prada. And then they had a good laugh about that. But I thought that was a pretty interesting talk. Like you had this really hyper exclusive one, but then you had a more open party in the second one. I don't know. It's pretty cool listening to Snipes talk about all this.
And also, I think that goes back to what you were saying about the character from the first and second one. He was a lot more relaxed, like more playful in the second Blade versus in the first one, where he was so serious, and that whole story in the first one was more about him finding out about his past and, him being so angsty about it. Whereas in the second one, he's more in tune to who he is and who he wants to be. And so it comes across in the way he plays the character. Like you said, he's a lot more goofy, a lot more funny, a lot more jokey, a lot more just relaxed as a character. And that's something that I enjoyed about Wesley Snipes, his portrayal of the character. Like what he brought to Blade is iconic in a way where, like, yes, they did the TV show thing, but I can never get into the TV show because I wanted Wesley Snipes to be Blade. I love his sticky fingers, but I just wanted it to be Wesley. You know what I mean? Because of what he brought to the character, nobody else I felt could do that the same way he did it. And that's another thing I feel like gets downplayed a lot too, is Wesley Snipes' ability as an actor. He's a really good actor, and he's played some very good dramatic stuff.
And look at White Men Can't Jump. I mean, that's like a comedy drama. Like
exactly.
The dude has range for sure.
He has serious range, and I think a lot of that. And I mean, it's kind of like the double-edged sword because of he is a trained martial artist. And I think unfortunately that overshadows his ability to be a dramatic actor. Because if you look at someone like a Denzel, Denzel is known for his dramatic acting and his just range of being deep but also being a versatile actor, whereas someone like, if you look at Michael Jai White, I don't look at Michael Jai White for his acting. I look at him for his ability to kick ass on screen and just be a badass,
Blood and Bone and Triple Threat. I don't know if you saw. Have you seen Triple Threat? It's him.
I did see Triple Threat.
Oh, dude.
It's so wait no. Right,
I love it.
Not for nothing.
I love it for what it is.
I love the movie. For what it is, and it's so hard for me to not watch movies with such a critical perspective sometimes. But like, oh my God, the acting in that movie at points, it just takes me so out of it. But I still love the movie for what it is. But
Scott Adkins
It's
is my
just such
boy,
a,
man. But that wig that
it's,
Scott Adkins has in the beginning of Triple Threat, I went,
it's
oh,
so horrible.
I went, oh no. But then, all right, watching Iko Uwais square off against Scott Adkins or Michael Jai White, that's all I want. Like, so once
Yeah,
those scenes happen, I'm like, I don't care about the dialogue. I don't care about the
exactly,
plot.
exactly. It
Uh,
doesn't matter anymore.
and you know what's really funny? Michael Bisping's one of my favorite MMA fighters, and my wife is a big fan of MMA. We watch it together. She's a big Michael Bisping fan. And in Triple Threat, he throws a high kick, and she looks at me and she goes, "You throw high kicks just like that, like really ugly." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Meg." But it's interesting watching Iko and Scott and Michael throw high kicks, and then Michael Bisping, who could probably beat them all up, throwing a high
Yeah,
kick, and it was painful. But then my high kicks. I mean, I'm just happy she thinks I can throw a high kick, actually, when it comes
funny.
to that.
That's hilarious.
No, but I also love what you said about Snipes, man. Like, there's a reason he was a massive box office draw, and I think that's a good point. With Denzel, he became an action star later with Book of Eli
Exactly,
and Equalizer. Liam Neeson started with Taken. But then you look at
exactly.
Stallone, Snipes, Schwarzenegger, I guess once you get pigeonholed as that action star, it's hard to kind of reel back because everyone sees you in a certain light.
Exactly, exactly. And then that's, I think, unfortunately, the downfall of most like late '80s, early '90s action stars. Like their life on cinema, because of how different action movies are filmed nowadays. They don't have that same appeal to the younger generation, and then they don't have that same draw that they did, as when we were coming up. Because that's what that's all we cared about when we went to these movies. We wanted to see crazy action, crazy explosions. We didn't care for dialogue too much. It was like, whatever. If it was good, that was a plus. But if it wasn't too great, hey, who cares? As long as something explodes, right?
I wanted someone standing in the middle of a field with a machine gun and to kill 75 people without being shot once.
Without being shot once or even having to reload at all,
Yeah.
So, and what's funny, it takes me back to remember when Last Action Hero came out. Like,
Yeah. People did
that
not
was
know what to
such,
make of that, right? People had no idea.
no idea. But what was so funny, what was so great about that movie is how it was spoofing what it was. Like, but it was still taking itself seriously.
Yep.
Like, it was so funny because it was literally the spoof of, like, it was the Expendables before the Expendables.
Yeah.
And like comedy format in a sense. You know what I mean?
The angry captain, the rogue police officer.
Yeah, the guy who's always like on target and never misses a shot. Like it was taking all these tropes and like making fun of them, but the movie took itself super serious.
Yep.
With the kid and him loving Arnold's character and all that. And it's just so funny to see how now when we think of an action movie, we want a good script and a good, we want
Yeah.
good, cinematography and, not too much action, but enough action, but not a little bit of action, but not a lot of action either. So it's just so funny how the kind of views have changed into, what we used to like and what we like now as it relates to action flicks.
And it's
But
such a
Wesley, man,
and it's such a worldwide market that remember back in the day, the Russians were the villains, the Chinese were the villains, the
yeah,
cartels
yeah,
were the villains. So now when we're making these movies, it's like, well, we can't make the Chinese character a villain because they're a massive
it just
market.
has to go to market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it
like
has
we
to
can't
go to China.
yeah, we don't want to piss off the Russians. So I think that's why comic book movies have really helped. And I don't think a lot of people have touched on this. The villain is a dark elf or a purple guy with, a chin that looks like a ball sack. It's just, they won't anger a certain of the portion of the population that you could cost you box office.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thanos. That line, I don't know, is that good or bad that Star-Lord made fun of his chin? Is it too self-aware?
Well,
You know what I mean?
because you know what? How could you not though? Like, let's be realistic. If I was in that moment, I would probably have the same reaction.
Yeah.
Like, your chin looks like balls. Like, come on, how could you not have that reaction if you were to see Thanos for the first time?
After, my fear, and if I knew I was done, I'd throw it in there. Oh, do you want to know something else cool I learned from the commentary? I was like, you wonder how he has so much money. in this movie. I mean, these setups that he has servers in his warehouse, which means he's
Yeah,
running a
like
lot
he
of
had like
power. And he said
exactly,
that,
and he had the
yeah.
lights and all that.
So
Too.
he said when he killed Deacon Frost, he stole all of his stuff, Wesley Snipes. He's like, yeah, after I
Mm-hmm.
killed Deacon, I just robbed the place.
Nice.
And he said that funded him. I love that Wesley Snipes said that. And also, Wesley Snipes was mad. He didn't like the soundtrack at all. I think he liked the Massive Attack Most Def song when
Yeah,
there's like that Reservoir Dogs moment when they're all walking into the House of Pain. But he
that
said,
was my jam. I love that song.
yeah, I mean, I love the combo of them. Like, I heard it again. I'm like, I might just go buy that or put it on my Spotify list. But he wanted the main vampire, Damascus,
Mm-hmm.
he wanted, like, so in his room, there's a lot of orchestra and all this stuff, but Wesley Snipes said, we should have just had James Brown playing in his room. Like this kind of, so he's not just this, I just thought it was funny. Wesley Snipes is like, you shouldn't have been listening to classical music. You should have been listening to James Brown. And
No, that's funny though. I mean, that's interesting though, because it really shows though how much he cared about the character and how much he cared about the story. So, I really hope when they do this reboot of Blade that he plays some type of part in it. Like I think Mahershala Ali is a great person
actor.
to take. He's a great actor. And I definitely think he can pull it off. But I just hope they have him in the. I hope they don't pull a Hellboy.
Cover like the latest Hellboy.
Oh, that was horrible.
That crushed my soul.
It crushed my heart.
It really hurt. Well, I was kind of looking. I've been thinking about Mahershala's back catalog, I guess, of films. So you think about what Luke Cage, Moonlight, Green Book.
Green Book.
I just don't a bunch of other roles too.
Well,
he was in a show called Alcatraz. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do remember Alcatraz.
But
I do remember Alcatraz.
I think he'll be able to blend the humor in there. I can see, because with Mahershala, he has that knowing look in his eyes. When you think about him, he's in on it. So I think he'll add something pretty cool to Blade. That's perfect casting, though.
What was the movie he did? Was it in Divergent?
Oh, yeah.
Was he
oh, no, Hunger Games.
So, he was in one of those movies. He was in a movie. I can't think of
Yeah, he was with Katniss.
It
was Hunger Games, I think, because I worked on those. And he was on the Hunger Games movies. 2, 3, and 4, I think. 3 and 4.
Where he was playing like a more serious kind of villainy type role, right?
He was a good guy that worked with Katniss. He might have been in Divergent.
I see. Yeah. So there was something he was in recently. It eludes me right now, but and I'm basing it off of that. He played a villain, and it was a recent movie. It's on the tip of my tongue. He was a villain. He was chasing somebody as villains do.
Oh, no, he was in Alita.
Alita.
Yeah.
And so the energy that he brought to Alita, like, I definitely feel like, okay, I could see him doing a Blade thing, if he brings that kind of same energy, that he brought to Alita.
I hope they don't. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, I was going to say, I definitely hope, like I said, they don't Hellboy it and kind of just, not even make any nods or mentions to the previous cast members or, Snipes and,
Whistler.
Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. I think they will. I don't think Marvel's smart. They're not dumb. They're gonna think this thing through and brain trust it and get it done to make it right. I just hope they don't. All right. So there's so many sunglasses in Blade. And it's pretty interesting how the henchmen, the evil villain henchmen in the beginning of Blade, they're all wearing sunglasses. Which, at night, which kind of inside.
Is it necessary?
Not necessary. I just hope they don't put those circular lenses on Mahershala like they did in Alita.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like those circular ones. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula, like in the 90s, you know how they had the circular?
Yeah.
I hope they don't put those.
The, old sciencey looking kind of. Yeah.
Give him cool glasses. So Wesley Snipes had 4 pairs of glasses in this movie. 4 variations. Give him those. Give him something cool. Because Blade has to wear sunglasses.
And Blade, and this is another thing that I loved about Blade was how he was a stylish fucking superhero.
Yeah, he was.
Pardon my French, but he was stylish as hell. He was like, he always had the